Hello YouTube and welcome to Artichoke Dip. My channel features how to play role-playing games solo. Now, I'm not talking about internet computer role-playing games because we all know that we can play those solo. They all have campaign mode. I'm talking about tabletop role-playing games. Now, I've noticed on YouTube and across the internet, there's been kind of an interest towards this lately. And there's many different ways you can play our tabletop role-playing games. I mean, now you can play by chat online. There are just a host of servers out there you can play role-playing games with where you're timed on your turn. Or you could go to your local game shop and play a role-playing game if you can find a group. Now, all of those are how it's a good way to play a tabletop role-playing game. But what if, for instance, you're like me and you work very odd hours and you're not active during them hours that most people are when they're doing this gaming because you're sleeping? Or what if you just don't have a hobby store in your area to be able to game with people? Now, of course, the internet's always standby. You can always do that. But then, you are bound by this. We're getting together at this time to do this from this time to that time. And with the way today is, and everybody is so busy with, as you get older, work and everything else, and sometimes, you can't do that. And what if you are a game master and you're creating a game and you just want to run some characters through it to see how the game works out, see if you have to make some tweaks before you bring your players in. For whatever reason, I'm sure you have those figured out why you'd want to play RPG solo. Maybe you're just curious. Well, the first topic I'm going to cover about playing games solo. Unlike if you play in a group setting to where you're going to have multiple people, multiple inputs, and that's socialization. Or you could have, like I've had some bad experience in groups, to where you have one person that is the rule monger. And this is the person that sits there with the rule book just scrutinizing everything that everybody does. That takes away from the gaming experience. As a matter of fact, it makes you not even want to be there. Or you get the person that comes in for the gaming experience and they fall asleep at the table. Or you get a game master that is very dry and you really just don't get anywhere with the game. The game master just wants to keep dragging his feet and there's no real action. And there's many reasons, okay? And I've been in a couple of game groups that really I didn't enjoy. I really didn't like the people, or I didn't like the game master in the way that he did the game. And this list can go on and on and on and on. So I started playing RPGs solo at a very young age. I originally got into Dungeons and Dragons when I was young, and I still have my first box set here. And when I grew up, in Dungeons and Dragons relatively new, and I really enjoyed it. And I ate it up. I loved everything about it. But at that time, Dungeons and Dragons had a really, really bad media, how do I put it, media coverage out there. A lot of people thought, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to get possessed by the devil, or you're going to run off and commit suicide, or, there was all these crazy claims that, it's the equivalent of saying if you play Worlds of Warcraft today, that you're going to become possessed and go out and, I don't know, kill 1,000 people for no reason. You really don't hear about that. So, at that time growing up, not too many people really wanted to play role-playing games, unlike me. So when I was young, I kind of developed a few systems to where I would play solo games by myself. And I had fun with it. And as the years went on and they progressed, I streamlined some of them systems to work well for me. And there's products out on the market today that you can buy to help you with that, and I'll get into that in 1 second. So talking about game systems, and depending on what kind of gaming you're in, maybe you're new to role-playing games. And I mean, the genres, there are so many genres out there. There's horror, there's fantasy, sci-fi. I mean, anything you can think of, there's a role-playing game for it. So, with me, what I'm going to be talking about here is the role-playing games that I enjoy to play solo. And I hope they work for you on some of the ideas that I'm going to give you here to help integrate into what you do. Now, the first one I started out with basic D&D. It's very basic, easy to make characters, very simple rules, very streamlined, in my opinion, if you're playing solo. Now, for some people, they don't like basic D&D. Basic D&D utilize subtraction, and then you have these different charts you have to go by for armor class, and some people just don't like that. Some people think it's very complicated, and I've met people who I've gamed with that they don't like it. And we play 3rd edition, and they love it, because they're adding rather than subtracting. So, to each their own on that. Now, basic D&D works very simple, but I can understand basic D&D by TSR, or tactical, I can't remember it now. Anyways, by TSR, it's long been out of print. And you can still find this stuff online. The problem is it's becoming very rare, I'm going to say. So you're going to pay a lot of money for some very rough copies of this stuff. I know they recently made reprints of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons that's out there, and I've looked at some of those. I mean, they're astronomical in price. So, let's say you're on a budget and you're like, you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on this stuff. There's a couple of game systems out there I think you may enjoy. The first one I'm going to bring up is Basic Fantasy, which is this book right here. And this is a good book. I bought this, and I played out of this a lot, and I've had a lot of fun with it. And it's like basic Dungeons and Dragons, but the game mechanics is like a 3.5 edition. Characters are very basic. It takes you really, I'm going to say, 10 minutes at the most to make a character, and you're ready to play. It has everything you need in this book to be able to play a solo RPG. From encounter tables to monsters, how to make a character, you name it, you'll find it in here. And it's a very simple game system, very easy to pick up. And for somebody getting into RPGing, I would suggest looking at this. And I believe, because I bought the book, but I believe you can download this online for free to a PDF. So it wouldn't really even cost you anything. So there's that. Now, what if you like the old school feel, like what I'm talking about, the basic D&D, but, well, you don't have the funds at the time. And I could completely understand that. There's another game system out made by Goblinoid Games. It's called Labyrinth Lord. And I picked this one up, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, when I got this book, I boxed up all my basic D&D stuff, so it wouldn't be getting any more worn out than it already is over the years. And this is a reprint. This is what they call a retro clone of basic D&D. And just like basic D&D itself, it is the same game mechanics. It is encounters. Just like basic fantasy, you have all your tables in here, how to make a character, so on and so forth. It's a game system all in this book. And now, one of the things with the books that you don't get, obviously, if you've played RPGs, you understand Polyhedral Dice. If you haven't, you would have to look into a Polyhedral Dice set, which you can get relatively cheap. I mean, you can go on Amazon, and I think you can get them for like $5. Every color you can think of, imagine. I mean, they go from $5 and they go up from there. I even believe you can even get gold-plated polyhedral dice. I really don't know why. I guess everybody's budget is different, right? So, one other game system I wanted to bring up to you that I really enjoyed and I purchased is the same creator that made basic Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax. He went on, after Wizards of the Coast purchased TSR, to make a new game system. And it's by Troll Lord Games, and it's called Castles and Crusades. I've really enjoyed this one as well. I bought the set, and it's basic fantasy type of world setting. Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, to me, it feels more kind of like a Lord of the Rings type setting. It works very well with this. In a 3rd edition Matrix, which no subtraction, no nothing like that. You just roll the 20-sided dice, you add your modifiers, and check it against your armor class. Very simple. If you're kind of new to RPGs and you're looking for something easy to learn, I suggest that. You can still get them. They're still in print. There is just a tremendous amount of books that you can get of Castles and Crusades out on the market. Now, one of the games that I really do enjoy playing, and I really enjoy the battle matrix of it and how it works. And this one is called Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing Game. And Palladium, which is just true to the fantasy settings, but whereas D&D and even Castle and Crusade, you're limited to a few number of races that you can play. Palladium is a much wider, broad range, but it's the battle matrix that makes the difference. That's what I really enjoy. This is currently out of print. You can still find it on Amazon, and you can still find it some online retailers. Right now, they have the new and updated version, which would be the 2nd edition. Either way, you would have to thumb through it and figure out what system you like. And I imagine a lot of you, if you're watching this, you're role-playing game veterans. You played role-playing games before, and you already have a system, and so on and so forth. So, first you got to decide what kind of system you like. The simpler the system and the rules, the easier it's going to be for you. The more complex of the game, to me, it feels clunkier, and it's going to be much more difficult and time-consuming trying to play that solo without a game master than it is to play in a group. Whereas some of these are much better, in my opinion. So, you've picked out the game system. You got your polyhedral dice, you rolled up your characters. Where do I